Split Decision Podcast, episode number 20, the Big 2-0, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing tonight? Number 20. Number 20,
man. Still buzzing after UFC 236, too. Got lots to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. And really quick breakdown of what we're going to cover today, folks. We've got a UFC 236 recap, a crazy card, so much to discuss, as Fight Geek just said. Then we're going to quickly dive into UFC St. Petersburg, a preview, or UFC Russia. Me and Fight Geek were actually just arguing about it. I have no idea which one it's called. After that, we're going to go into the listener questions. We got a ton of amazing listener questions. I know I often say this, Fight Geek, but the listener questions this week, I mean, for number 20, they were sick, right?
The best ever.
The best ever. You heard it from Fight Geek's mouth. The best ever. So,
and a little birdie told me that the listener question horn may be making a return this episode as well. So,
ooh, all right, okay. So, let me start off with this question for you, Fight Geek. Now, normally I would, of course, start with the main event, but I feel very strongly that the co-main event, Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum, deserves the opening question. I posted on Twitter the other day that I thought that Adesanya versus Gastelum was the second greatest middleweight fight in UFC history, behind Whittaker Romero 2. Do you agree or disagree? And if you disagree, where would you place that fight on the UFC middleweight fights all-time list?
Big question, but I don't know if it's recency bias or what, but I would put Adesanya Gastelum above your favorite fight ever, Whittaker Romero 2, right?
2. Oh, definitely 2.
So, definitely 2. So, yes, I would say that was the greatest middleweight title fight ever. It was an interim title fight, so there's always a little bit of haziness in there whenever we're discussing, like, you know, apples to apples here. But, sure,
And sorry to interrupt, but in 225, Whittaker Romero 2, technically speaking, was not even a title fight, remember? Because Romero missed weight.
That is true.
So,
Good point. So, yeah, without a doubt, then it's the number one middleweight title fight ever that we've seen. I mean, it was action back and forth. I mean, I think it's been discussed ad nauseum how it was like a movie and the ebbs and flows. And we saw Kelvin early on, you know, rock Izzy and kind of prove that he was going to be there all night. And then, I mean, they put on just an epic performance. Loved that fight. How did I think it was pretty clearly won by Israel in that fifth round. What were your thoughts on the final scoring and how it all played out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, my thoughts are I definitely had it 2-2 going into the fifth, as I think almost everyone did. And you can correct me if you disagreed there. I definitely had it 2-2 going into the fifth, and then Izzy just took it to a level that I truly did not think he was capable of going to, and he almost finished Kelvin. So I scored that last round. Oh yeah, I scored that last round 10-8 for sure in favor of Adesanya, and I just thought, I mean, they both deserve so much credit. All four fighters in both the co-main and the main event, Holloway and Poirier too, all four of them were winners. I know that sounds corny, but they all did amazing.
Absolutely, they were all winners. I think every single one of those four fighters' stock rose dramatically.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I know we started the show off a little out of order with starting with the co-main. I thought it was worth it because of how truly incredible that fight was. But
so incredible. I mean, we don't have to necessarily move off of it right now.
Well, how do you think it ranks in terms of middleweight fights? Forget title fights. And a lot of people were saying that Silva versus Bisping was great. A lot of people were saying Silva versus Sonnen. What do you think?
Silva versus Bisping is very high on my list. That fight was amazing. I think because both of these fighters are in their primes, I would elevate this fight a tad as far as the action. Obviously, Bisping versus Silva is two larger names, two more historic names, so that really had a different feel. That was more of a prestigious matchup, where this was just more high-end skill matchup.
Yeah.
And back to your point where you're saying, in the moment, I didn't score that final round 10-8, but I think it's pretty clear that was a 10-8 round, especially considering how Kelvin was hanging on. Was impressed with Kelvin's gas tank and his how he kind of paced himself throughout that fight. We've seen in the past him really gas out. But I do think that was the difference in the 5th round. I think finally Kelvin's cardio started to fail on him a little bit. And when that happened, you saw him get real flat-footed. He wasn't able to retreat like he was early, and then Adesanya really started teeing off on him. But, wow, what a fight. What a fight. And I even, in the moment, it was hard to believe that we could even have more action. I couldn't even believe that was the co-main event because I was so lost in that fight. It was just unbelievable. Couldn't believe the final sequence. You know, I heard a lot of people saying that Kelvin could have been stopped, that Goddard could have jumped in there in the last couple seconds.
It was close.
But honestly, I think with that effort, Kelvin deserved to hear the bell and deserved to have the pride of at least making it to the bell. Yep. So I think that fight played out perfectly. What a fight. Fight of the year so far, no doubt. And I really love the unification bout that's being set up between Israel and Robert Whittaker. I think that's one of the more organic rivalries that we've had in a long time and within a division. I think that's going to be monstrous. And I think that fight is so intriguing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We don't want to go too far. We don't want to go too far because the listener questions we got to pick a winner of that fight in the listener question. That fight's going to be so sick, but we're jumping ahead.
Okay, so that fight was amazing. Clear fight of the night, fight of the year. Arguably a top 3 middleweight fight of all time. Best title fight ever in the middleweight division. And it was a reminder after a couple weeks, you know, seemed like when we had that off week and we had some bad, you know, news cycles, it was horrible to be without the UFC, and it comes back and it delivers like that. It was just really amazing, really enjoyable.
Bad news cycles. What in heavens are you referring to, Fight Geek? TJ is still the bantamweight champion, right? Guys, Fight Geek loves TJ, and I'm sorry, I have to say it. Fight Geek loves TJ and was so mad when TJ got busted. It was hilarious.
You doing this on air?
Oh yeah, 100%.
No comments.
Okay,
Whatever.
fair. Okay. So moving on, UFC 236 recap. Main event: Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 2. Why don't you start us off with your thoughts on that fight? Because I've got some very, very specific thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear what you think
I
first.
can't remember last episode, but didn't I pick Dustin by decision?
Is this you humble bragging?
Yeah, it is my humble way of bragging. I mean, I think I missed every other fight on the card, but I got this one right, and this is the one that mattered.
Oh, I went 0 for 5 on the main card. Thank you very much. 0 for 5 on the main card.
Well, like you said, I mean, Izzy versus Gastelum. It's anyone who thinks they could have predicted that action is just out of their mind and should stop watching. You cannot predict the action in some of these fights, especially at the highest level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I predicted the action in the Dustin versus Max fight, and I actually loved this fight for a whole different set of reasons than I loved the previous fight. I think even in defeat, Max Holloway showed you that he's a true Hall of Fame fighter. He's one of the truest, he has some of the truest fighting spirit we've seen. I mean, we hear so much hyperbole about Conor will fight everybody here, there, anywhere, and we hear this kind of false narrative painted by guys. Max Holloway is a guy who wants to fight the best fighters in the world, and he does it consistently. He's always showing up. I know he's had a couple of the weight cutting issues, but the fact that he just shows up and he's in front of us, and even in a loss to a big, strong Dustin Poirier, he turned the tides, had his moments, and made it to the bell. Could not be more impressed with Max Holloway. Could not be more impressed. What a stud.
Yep, totally agree. Okay. Let me ask you this.
With that being said,
how'd you score it?
How'd you score it? I scored it 48-47 Dustin Poirier.
Okay.
I think we saw 49-46 was one of the official scores, right?
Yeah, I believe all 3 judges had it 49-46. Let me double check that really quickly. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know about that. Even, I mean, maybe I'm just a little old school and still kind of score in the old school method. I did not even think the first round was a 10-8, even though Max got kind of beat up.
Yeah.
Did you clearly think that round was a 10-8?
No. No, I did not. No, I did
Because I've
not.
seen online a lot of people saying that they scored that first round 10-8. Have you seen that at all?
Yes, I have. I don't agree with that. But okay, so this is what I'll say. Look, people, a lot of people like to pretend, oh, I don't have favorite fighters, this and that. I look at things unbiasedly. I would like to think that you can have fighters that you're secretly rooting for, or not secretly rooting for, and you can still have an unbiased opinion when you're watching a fight. I think that's what professionals do. Anyone who says they don't have favorite fighters are lying. And I can tell you that Max is one of my favorite fighters. So when I saw that fight, after more than a few drinks, it was pretty late, late into the evening over here in Chicago. I scored it. I scored it 3-2 for Poirier. I still had Poirier winning, but I scored it 3-2. Then I rewatched it the next day, and I said, okay, it was 4-1 Poirier. So
Really?
yes, yes, and that's just based on rounds. And I understand why people say that it was closer because Max was moving forward the whole time.
Max has the heart of a lion.
Oh, completely.
The heart of a lion. If you could hear it in DC and Dominic Cruz's description of Dustin Poirier, he is a big, strong guy for 155. People don't see him in his current light, I don't feel like. I feel like they always see him in the light when he was in 145 and he was a little wiry and he was growing into his body and he got knocked out by Conor.
Oh, you're talking
That
about
guy
Dustin? Because you just said Max.
yeah.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
said Max has a heart of a lion because he's dealing with someone like Dustin
Right.
Poirier, who's a big, strong guy. You could even hear it in the description of the announcers who were saying, look at his back. Look how dense Dustin is. And not only that, but Dustin's an incredibly intelligent boxer.
Yeah.
He had like a Philly shell defense. I'm pretty sure everyone noticed it. He basically used it all 5 rounds. It was great defense against a guy like Max Holloway. Max still got his shots in, but Dustin more or less was able to shell up and block most of the power shots. I feel like most of the time Dustin was in trouble was just because Max was putting a little pace on him and kind of took his breath from him and had him reeling a bit. I'd never thought that Dustin was in any serious danger of losing that fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We agree. We agree there. Dustin was definitely never in serious danger of losing the fight, but it sounds like we disagree on exactly why Dustin won. And you tell me what you think here. And by the way, let me first of all say, all respect to Dustin, he completely won that fight. Again, I scored that 4 rounds to 1. I thought that Max looked shockingly small for 55.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
He did look small.
And that was the difference. I think that every time that Max tried to use his pace in his smothering, what would happen is Dustin would throw some really hard shots, connect, and Max would kind of back off because he was getting hurt.
Yeah, Dustin throws heavy hooks, very heavy hooks.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, with how wide his back is and how dense he is and how big he's gotten, he's even saying the weight cut to 155 is tough, which means he's going to probably be a 170-pounder before too long.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you got a guy coming up from 145 fighting a guy who could probably comfortably fight at 170, and you really saw, I think this has been overstated as well, the punching power difference. And I believe that's where the fight was actually won. I think the fight was won, and I think the total strike numbers were actually pretty even, and Max may have even...
Max had more.
Max actually outstruck Dustin, but Dustin was landing with so much more power that Max would have had to land another 100 shots to do the same amount of damage that had been done to him, in my opinion.
Yep.
That might be an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either way, just want to say that was, I want people to understand that's the best MMA has to offer right there. That was 2 great guys in their prime, martial artists, respecting each other, putting it on the line. UFC 236, one of my favorite cards of all time. Really enjoyed that. And the more we get back to just being about the fights, the better it'll be.
Yeah. Okay. So before we move off of the main and co-main and how epic they were, I've got one final question. I have been accused by some on Twitter, perhaps fairly, I want your opinion, for being a Debbie Downer about Dustin Poirier versus Habib. I personally have nothing but respect for Dustin. I think he deserves this shot. Having said that, I think he will be absolutely humiliated in one of the worst title fights of all time. I think he's got nothing for Khabib, and I say that because Dustin has never shown me that he can handle extremely elite takedowns. I haven't seen that extremely elite takedown defense. He's a stand and bang fighter. So convince me I'm wrong, please.
Well, first of all, he wouldn't be the first guy to lose to Khabib, so it's not like, how many guys didn't have anything for Khabib? There's been many. Conor didn't have anything for Khabib. Doesn't
he won a round. He won a round.
Please,
you're right.
Dude.
You're right. No, you're right. But he did win a round.
Anyone who has the defense that Conor won a round against Khabib, good Lord, are we still doing that?
What do you mean? I'm not defending McGregor, and I'm not saying he didn't get his ass whooped.
Well, who cares if you win a round?
Is Dustin gonna? Okay, will Dustin win one round? Because if so, I'm more interested.
I think Dustin Poirier could win the first round on the feet for sure, 100%. I think one thing that Dustin Poirier has that a lot of people don't give him credit for is his mettle. That guy is tough. He outlasted Max Holloway. He outlasted Eddie Alvarez. He outlasted Gaethje.
Yep.
The only times that guy gets beat is when he gets starched in a shootout, and that could happen to anyone. And you could even see this fight. When he had Max hurt, he rushed in. Max hit him with a counter shot that almost straightened him up. And you could see him take his foot off the gas a little bit. And you could see Dustin working himself through that. In the fight, he was like, don't rush in, because in past fights, he hurts guys, he rushes in and then gets into a firefight and knocked out. He took his foot off the gas and then actually just kind of won out on points on the rest of that first round. But in the past, I feel like he would have just gone in there balls to the wall and been in danger of being knocked out. So not to circle back around, but I definitely think Dustin can win a round from Khabib. And the thing about Khabib is he's taking these long extended breaks now. He's getting older too. It's not, you don't stay the same every fight. We will see Khabib drop off at some point. Will it be versus Dustin Poirier? I don't know. Will it be 3 fights from now? Will it be, who knows when it'll happen, but it's happened to every fighter the UFC has ever employed. He will fall off someday, and there's a 99% chance he will lose to someone. I don't know if it's going to be Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier today deserves it more than anyone, and I want to see that fight, whether you believe he has a chance or not,
Oh, and by the way, just to be clear, I absolutely agree that needs to be the next fight. The interim belt needs to be respected, and Dustin deserves his shot. It just reminds me a little bit of when Damian Maia got the shot against Woodley.
That's absurd. Who did Damian Maia beat on a roll like Dustin Poirier's on? Are you crazy?
You're telling me that? Okay, look, let me ask you this. Is Poirier gonna win a round? Is Poirier gonna win a round, Justin? Is he gonna win a round?
Yes.
No, he's not. We'll see.
Next.
All right. Okay. You never get predictions wrong. It's only me. Okay, whatever. Moving on. We got to cover real quick. I want to cover, some of the highlights of 236, and there were a lot. You picked Curtis Millender to beat Bilal Muhammad. I believe you were kind of mocking me for that. How'd that go?
Didn't go well. Went just about how everybody else thought it would go. Bilal Muhammad had a great performance. Obviously took a little damage early, then implemented his wrestling and won it. That was an easy call. I missed. Yeah.
I'm being such a jerk. Why am I such a jerk?
I'm a sucker for strikers, so whatever. But I did call Khalil Roundtree, and you didn't.
That's true.
And I think I called that pretty clearly.
Yep, you did.
He beat up Eric Anders bad.
Yeah.
You know what? Do you think his corner should that towel have been thrown in on that fight, in your opinion?
Oh man, that we could spend a whole episode on that. I'm I don't think so. I understand why corners are so hesitant because it's not just about fighter safety. It's about, in MMA, one punch can change everything. So you really never know. What if Anders
But in retrospect, did Anders have enough in the tank to change everything?
I, Man, I've seen
How
such
many
strange
times did he get
things. I've
knocked
seen
out?
so many strange fights.
He really was not offering much in that fight at all.
Yeah, respect to him for finishing it. I wouldn't have been mad if they'd thrown it in. I certainly understand
Well, you would say respect to him because it's your boy.
that. Oh gosh, he's got to change that nickname. Okay, so I wanted to touch on this real fast. Dwight Grant defeated Alan Jouban via split decision, but wait, there's more. The scorecards were so sketchy. It was 29-28 Grant, 27-30 Jouban, 29-28 Grant. I chose Jouban, so maybe I'm being a little biased, but I thought that was really bad. Really bad.
Really bad? It could not have been really bad. Jouban, what did he throw? 47 punches in the whole fight? That guy was not. He was not engaging either. And
hold on. One judge scored it 30-27 for Jouban.
That's absurd.
I don't know. I think Allen won the fight. You don't?
I do not. I thought that Dwight Grant won the fight. Yes, I do feel like that. He did move backwards a lot, but when they engaged early, and like you said, I may have had a drink or two on Saturday night, so I don't remember exactly. I do remember Dwight fighting backwards. I remember Jouban coming forward, but he was not engaging. He wasn't throwing high volume. He wasn't landing anything significant at all. And I believe that the heavier punches were still landed by Dwight Grant in that fight.
Yeah.
But
yeah, good point.
But
okay.
Like you said, it was fairly uneventful from both sides, and therefore, can you really complain about it if it's that uneventful? That's kind of my thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Really, really quick. There's just a few more fights I want to cover real fast. You got the. I think you got this right, or did you choose OSP? I got it wrong. I chose OSP over Nikita Krylov.
I've always been a Nikita Krylov fan, but I took OSP.
Yeah, yes. So Nikita Krylov did what an amazing performance. That submission by.
But didn't OSP look? He's usually kind of looks lackluster. Is kind of his general demeanor, but he looked even more like lethargic than normal, didn't he?
Well, remember when that one fight when Jones wasn't on steroids, it was very competitive. Oops. Wait, just kidding. I mean, Jones is clean. What?
Phil has a bunch of John Jones posters up in his living room.
Can you imagine if that would actually be really funny if I did? That'd be kind of cool. Okay, wait. I had to ask you. Okay, so first of all, Nikita Krylov, real fast. Who does he fight next? What do you think the fight is for him now?
Krylov.
Light heavyweight.
Yeah. He's gonna have to find someone from like. What's Glover Teixeira doing?
I think he's got something, doesn't he?
Glover should retire, man.
Wait, let me go look that up.
How about Nikita Krylov versus who's the Hawaiian guy not the Hawaiian guy, sorry. The guy who trains with Tai Tuivasa. I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, wait.
Tyson Pedro. Let's see Tyson Pedro versus Nikita Krylov. That'd be fun.
Glover is fighting Kutalaba at UFC on ESPN3 on April 27th.
That's going to be a tough one for him.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Tyson Pedro if he's not booked. I feel like that's a good match.
Good pick. No, I like that a lot. Okay, and then the last fight I wanted to ask you about was I really, really wanted to ask you about the flyweight fight with Alexander Pantoja having that win over Wilson Reyes.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think Pantoja is really gets slept on. I mean, can this guy get a title fight for the final flyweight fight? Is it too late?
What's crazy is his season of Tough, they were all champions, and he was the number one pick. So Pantoja is a former champion of his other organization. He was the number one pick, if I'm not mistaken, on Tough. he didn't win tough though, did he? It was Tim Elliott, right?
Tim Elliott, for sure.
Yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
fight. Tim Elliott actually almost submitted
Right.
Mighty Mouse in the first round.
But Pantoja, looking back, was the number one pick for a reason. He's arguably the most talented guy to come off of that class.
Mm-hmm.
So very talented guy. It seems like in the last few fights, he's just kind of matured and kind of grown into his style. He's been extremely explosive, quick. His jiu-jitsu is amazing, obviously. So definitely one to watch. I've been paying attention to him for a while since the Tough series. So glad to see that he's kind of hitting his stride. And, I wouldn't be against seeing him in like a top contender match or something coming up pretty soon.
Oh, no, absolutely. I totally agree. I think that he, I think he deserves, if Henry Cejudo loses to Moraes and they make one more flyweight title fight, I mean, I don't see why Joseph...
that has to be Joe Benavidez.
Pantoja's more exciting. First of all, Benavidez lost the Cejudo fight, okay? But whatever. That's a tangent. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to UFC St. Petersburg preview, a.k.a. UFC Russia. I have no idea which one it is. We spent 20 minutes before the episode arguing about it. Guys, is it UFC St. Petersburg or is it UFC Russia? Who cares? It's Overeem versus Olenek. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, Fight Geek.
I think you had it right at who cares.
Okay, fine.
No, I'm just
kidding. Ha. All right. God, I was just about to set you up. I was teeing you up, and you had to throw in the smart-ass... See, guys, do you see what I'm working with over here with Fight Geek? Always giving me the sass. But, okay. Alistair Overeem versus Alexei Olenek. Who you got?
Well, big-time Overeem fan. Been a big fan for a long time. But at this point, I'm going to take Alexei Olenek via second-round submission. I just think that guy's too tricky. I think Overeem's due for a decline. And I think over in Russia, Olenek is going to have a big-time win. So I'm taking him by submission. He's surprised me a few times before. He's an absolute bear. I believe he will close the distance on Overeem, get him to the ground, and then once he's on top of you, he's just seems to be impossible to get off.
Yeah, fascinating pick. I was very tempted to go that route, but my gut's telling me Alistair Overeem is going to win it, so that's my pick. Guys, I did go 0-5 in the UFC 236 main card, so you should probably pick against me. I'm saying Overeem will win. That means he'll probably lose. So, let's just put that out there. Okay, really quickly,
These guys have a combined 101 MMA wins. Is that crazy?
That is insane.
I think they said this is the most combined wins in UFC history fighting against each other.
Are you sure that's right? How many wins does what's Olenek's record?
Olenek's record is 57-11. It says.
Holy Okay.
And Overeem's 44-17. So these
I
guys
knew that.
101-28.
Okay, I'll be honest. I didn't know that Alexei had. I didn't know Alexei had that many fights. To be honest. That's nuts.
I think 50 of them were untelevised.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. All right, so there's only a few more fights that I really wanted to quickly cover on this card. I've never seen. I was going through the card. I was going through it on Wikipedia, and
don't incriminate us, man.
What do you mean? I've never seen more names that don't have Wikipedia pages. It was easily 80% of the card. I just think that's telling it. It's weird. That's all. It's just weird. It's just weird. Islam Makhachev versus Arman Sakarian. I've got Islam Makhachev, who is a close friend and teammate of Khabib, defeating Sarukian. Who you got?
Nice job on the name there. I'm going to take Makhachev as well. I think he's obviously more seasoned, been in the UFC longer, comes from an incredibly tough camp. He's going to be really looking to, after all the controversy and the drama and the suspensions, I believe this is his first fight back, right? So he'll be looking to have a great performance and prove his worth for sure. He's fighting a guy who's Arman, what'd you call him? Sarakurian?
Sarakian.
Anyways, 13-1. Looks to be a good prospect as well, but I just think he doesn't have the same type of experience as Makhachev has. So I'm going to go with Makhachev by unanimous decision.
I have it by unanimous decision as well. Very exciting. Okay, so I wanted to talk about Roxanne.
But you didn't say how Overeem's going to win. You said your gut saying he's going to win, but how's your gut telling you it's going to happen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's going to be by third round TKO.
Third round TKO. Nice.
Okay, Roxanne Modafferi versus Antonina Shevchenko. This is fascinating. You know why? The first thing that jumped out to me about this fight is that Antonina is awkwardly catching up with her sister very quickly. If she keeps winning these fights, I kind of wonder if Valentina feels she has to go back up.
Oh, really? Because her sister's coming?
Well, she's already said, Valentina has said on several occasions, once Antonina becomes a contender, a true contender for the belt, I'm going back up to bantamweight. I've got unfinished business with Nunes. I think she didn't get the memo about being down 0-2 and what that means. But
but she obviously fought Nunes closer than anyone else we've seen recently.
Yep, no doubt. She did.
So who are you taking in the fight with all that said?
I got Antonina Shevchenko by second round. Stoppage via TKO. Not submission.
Yeah, Roxanne is so tough, and she has so much more experience in MMA. I think she has paths to victory, especially with her grappling. Mm-hmm. But I just see Shevchenko's footwork being too good. I think she'll get in and out. She'll be way too fast, too quick for Roxanne. I'm going to take Antonina Shevchenko by unanimous decision.
Okay, and not to put you on the spot, I can look this up. Do you know what Roxanne is ranked right now? I can look it up. I'm just curious because, I
thought she was ranked like 12th or something like that, but I can look it up.
No, I can look it up too. I just feel like Antonina is very, very quickly kind of making things awkward.
But I think there's at least 2 more title defenses for Valentina before she has to worry about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to watch her, murder Jessica I at UFC 238. Thanks a lot, UFC.
You're so dramatic.
I'm sure that's going to be a really exciting and competitive fight. No, just kidding. Jessica.
Who would you have her fight?
Anyone else. The answer is anyone. Okay, Roxanne is ranked 7, by the way. Just okay. FYI. Antonina's ranked 12. So if she beats Roxanne, things are starting to get real interesting at women's flyweight. So that's fun. That's cool. Okay. All right. Any other fights you needed to cover on this card before we go to the excellent listener questions?
No, I think we can jump into the listener questions. Let's do that.
All right. Let's do that. So let me start off. I'm going to start off with one from MMA/Today. This is at Scotland_MMA. And he says, will Johnny Walker be the one to dethrone John Jones at light heavyweight? No, Jones is juiced to the gills. Why would anyone beat him?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. You got a question? Now everyone knows exactly how I feel. Yeah, that's right. I'm not holding back this episode.
All right, here's one from Hectic_1 at Hectic1ONE. Do you think Dustin Poirier's shoulder roll Philly shell striking defense will be a new wave in MMA? So you obviously saw that how he was covering up the Philly shell boxing defense. Do you think this will be a new trend after seeing how effective it was this last weekend?
Absolutely not, and I would respectfully disagree that it was so super effective. I think that Max landed a lot of strikes against that defense. It just lacked power.
Fair enough. That defense worked really well, though.
But it lacked.
It did work well.
Yeah, I mean, Max the 45er who looked like a 45er against. And again, respect to Dustin. Respect to Dustin.
Such a hater, I swear. You can't make a comment like that and then say respect to Dustin because you're just taking his respect from him by saying that he looked good against a small-looking 45.
Okay, you tell me. Did Max look small or did he not look small? Tell me.
Max looks small, but Max's skill set is as elite as it comes, which made up for the difference in size. Same reason guys like BJ Penn used to go fight Lyoto Machida, because if you have the skills, you can even the playing field to a certain extent. Yes, it was an uphill battle for him to fight somebody the size of Dustin Poirier, but Max Holloway is one of the few exceptions who has the skills available to him to last with someone who is that much bigger than him. So I don't feel like he was outclassed in any way. Was he visibly smaller? Sure. Was he outclassed? Not at all.
Okay. I would argue he got outclassed in the fight surely by losing and taking so much more damage.
Well, he won 2 rounds, in my opinion.
Okay.
Some people, in retrospect, think that he did enough to win the 5th round.
So then how the heck is he going to make the Khabib fight anything but a tire fire?
Well, we don't know. Why do you have to ruin a fight before it gets there?
Because Khabib doesn't fight much, and I don't want him wasting
How about when that fight comes up, you just skip it with all the rest of the people that don't think Dustin has a chance, and we'll tell you how he does.
I don't need you to tell me. I know how he's gonna do.
Well, then that's what I mean. You guys don't have to watch.
All right. I'm being a Debbie Downer. Let's move on. Okay. Enough of my Debbie Downerness. You got a question?
So, I don't necessarily think that will turn into a big thing. But I think it worked well for Dustin. Just finishing up the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Do you got something?
Yep, I do. This is at Grasp Gains. That's at GRASPGAINZ. And a quick aside for Grasp Gains. Shout out to you for throwing some serious shade my way this week. But you know what? It was damn funny. He said, he was reacting to the Schmo, this new guy, the Schmo, asking Dana that ridiculous 165 question. Did you see this?
Yeah, actually, shout out to Schmo. I sat with him at UFC Phoenix.
Okay,
I actually met the Schmo.
Okay, well, I apologize for everyone.
What's up, Schmo?
Okay, I apologize to
Shameless
everyone.
plug.
Okay, I don't like the Schmo, and I apologize to everyone for his shout out. But Graph Gains was real funny. And he retweeted it, and he wrote, I didn't know that Phil the MMA dude was at the press conference. And it was just kind of, like, really funny and really mean, and I really enjoyed it. Because, like...
You could appreciate it. So
oh, yeah.
nice.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. So shout out to you, bro. And then anyways, he asked, looking at the talent level of that the UFC has put up so far in Russia, do you think we'll get a stacked Russia card for Khabib to fight on ever? If Overeem loses, should he start thinking about the R word yet? Pick for fight of the night besides the main event of 236? Okay, so there's a lot of questions. Wow. Okay, I'll take the very last one. Pick for fight of the night besides the main event. Homie, Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum was better than the main event.
Yeah, that was fight of the night.
That was fight of the night for sure. If Reem loses, should he start thinking about the R word yet? I say yes. What do you say?
Yes, I think it would be time. It would be his 18th career loss. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then, do you think that we'll ever get a super stacked Russia card for Khabib to defend his title on?
Well, I guess super stacked. What is the stacked talent-wise?
Yeah, he meant talent. Yeah, I believe he meant talent-wise.
I mean, I don't think you're going to see the biggest stars in the sport on a Russia card, personally. But I don't know. Has Khabib shown any interest in being on one of these Russia cards?
Great question. I know that he's announced his intention to defend the belt in Abu Dhabi in September. So that's obviously...
He seems to like to fight in November in New York. It's kind of like when Khabib always says he wants to fight.
Yeah, he said. I don't know. I mean, he confirmed at least verbally that he's looking at September with Abu Dhabi. They're trying to do a big UFC. I think it's 242 that would be.
That'd be an interesting Khabib Abu Dhabi championship. I think that'd be a perfect spot for Dustin.
Yep.
Gosh, that's a big road trip for Dustin, though.
Actually, on that note, that leads to an excellent listener question from one of the special MVPs of the podcast who doesn't get enough shout-outs, Jim Asoon. Who's the effing man? Jim, you're the man. You're one of the MVPs. Don't worry, Smoothie. We're not taking your title, but Jim, you got to get some.
Starting five. He's on the starting five.
Oh, easy starting five. This is at Jim_Asoon, Assoun. He says, now that we have Dustin versus Khabib meeting in September, I wouldn't mind seeing Tony versus Conor on the same card with winner getting Khabib. Winner getting the winner of Khabib Dustin. I know people think that Tony should be fighting Khabib, but it's not going to happen until Tony fights someone else first. What do you think about Tony being on the card as well?
No, I think Tony should wait. I think Tony should fight whoever's next.
And
I think Tony should fight the winner of. Tony needs a little more time. I think that's clear. If you follow MMA, you understand he's just removed from dealing with some personal issues. You don't need to throw him right back into a cage. He can have an extended break right now while he gets his life in order. And then,
in defense of the MMA fan community, though, Tony did post, right, that he had that psychological evaluation he passed.
Well, that's fine. So that doesn't mean you go fight on Monday.
Sure.
It's a process.
Sure.
If you're gonna do things the right way, they take a while. Okay. So you don't just I got cleared, I run, and whatever. I would say that he could use a more extended break until he's really in a comfortable place, and then he can fight the winner of Khabib versus Dustin. I truthfully would love if the UFC just started getting their divisions back in order. We need to know who the best fighter is. We can't have 4 guys at the top of every division who can't get head-to-head matchups.
Yep.
We need to see Dustin fight Khabib. If he loses like you say he will, at least that will answer one question. Then we need to see Tony.
Oh, stop it. If he loses like I say he will. Guys, listen to me. Let me be real clear, okay? If Dustin wins 2 rounds against Khabib, I will do something humiliating. I don't even know what it is yet, but it's going to be very embarrassing.
It's so important. My point is we need to see it play out. We can't just take Phil, the MMA dude's word for it that Dustin can't win, that Tony shouldn't do this. We need to see it.
Whoa. Why are you putting words in my mouth, bro? I said Dustin versus Khabib should be next. That doesn't mean I like it.
And then Tony should fight the winner of that. Conor should not even be in the equation. Conor should fight Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah.
But we know Conor doesn't want any piece of that because I think the story would end for good if that fight happened.
Yep, agreed. I've got another question unless you do.
Go ahead, I'll cue one up.
Okay, this is from very good friend of the podcast, Kenneth Robert. That's at Mr. Tiddlewinks, at Mr. _Tiddlewinks. TIDDLEWINKS. He said, what's going on with the flyweight division? And then his second question, he asked 3, but sorry, Kenneth, we're just going to do 2. Second question is it annoying for anyone else when Joe Rogan screams, he's hurt, even when the strike doesn't land? Let me take that second question first. I have noticed something.
Taking all the good ones today.
Yeah, I've noticed something lately, and I'm very curious to hear this, Fight Geek, what you think. I think that Joe Rogan has for the first time ever in the last few months become an irritation on broadcasts often. And what I mean by that, I'm trying to think of a specific example, but it certainly happened this weekend where 2 fighters were going back and forth. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what it was. It was the very first fight of 236, and I mean the first fight. So it was
Brandon Davis
and Randy Costa.
Yeah.
And Rogan was clearly very high on Costa going into the fight. And when he started to lose to Davis, Joe started saying, he's hurt. He's hurt. There's something wrong. Do you see how there's something wrong? There's something wrong, everyone.
Yeah, but I thought there was something wrong with him. It looked like he misstepped on his leg in the first round.
Yeah, that's called a fight caused by. I mean, yeah, and even if he misstepped, that's pressure from your opponent.
It looked like he hyperextended his knee or something, or his ankle. He was being very ginger on that leg, and he was also having a hard time planting on it, if I remember correctly. So I don't really get that criticism as much as other people. But then again, I like Mike Goldberg. You know, some people didn't like Goldie, and some people get annoyed by Joe Rogan. It's like, well, what if I told you I wasn't the biggest fan of John Anik? What would you say?
I mean, I think literally no one would care about that. But most.
Well, I mean, I think Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg represent the old guard of UFC commentating, and I think John Anik and Dominic Cruz and DC represent the new age of commentating. And I'm not really ready to get away from the old way 100%. I'm not really annoyed by Joe. He does get a little bit carried away, and I don't think he's spot on all the time. I think Uriah Faber used to call him out when Joe would say people were in danger while they're in the guard and things like this, and Uriah would literally, after the fight, be like, I heard him saying that, but I feel comfortable in that position. I'm not in danger, yada, yada. So I think you just have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Uncle Yagi at Inzuki_101. Prediction time. With the upcoming title fights coming up, who do y'all see as champions at the end of the year in each male division? You got great matchups with Cejudo Moraes, so let's go here. Cejudo Moraes, who are you taking now?
Ooh, you know what? That's going to be a really fun fight. I think it could be way more competitive than people think.
Don't break it down. Just pick.
I got Marlon Moraes by third round knockout.
Dustin Khabib. Skip, we already know how you feel there. Colby Usman.
You know what? Colby's going to get up for that. I have this weirdo feeling Colby's going to get up for that. I don't know why, but I'm still taking Usman by by a tight unanimous decision 3-2.
And I already know what you're going to say, but Jones, Santos.
Well, Jones will win, of course. He's juiced to the gills.
Stipe DC.
2?
More than likely, yes.
DC via fourth round stoppage.
And what about Max versus potentially Volkanovski if he beats Aldo?
Oh, please. Volkanovski won't last 3 rounds.
There you have it, Uncle Yagi. All right. I got another one from Derek at Jilted America. Question. Was there an issue with Holloway's performance, or did Poirier simply have the superior training team?
Great question. Yeah. So I think it was really a little bit of both. I mean, as I mentioned before, I thought that Max looked very small for 55. Dustin did great though. You know, Dustin had a great game plan. He fought aggressively, and so I think it was both. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was just, the thing is that Dustin beat Max before. So Dustin had familiarity of Max, even though it's not this version of Max. I think that helped. So, I think I forgot what the actual question was.
No,
I think Max, I think I said earlier, I think Max had the skill set to make up for the difference, and he was not outclassed in my opinion, but he was beaten. So for that reason, I would say Poirier looked good in my opinion.
I agree. Okay, so really quick question from Derek Lewis's Hot Balls at Pixie Dust 26. Do you think that when a fighter is flagged and found guilty of intentional PED use, do you think their past tests should be retested? If so, how far back should they go? If not, why do you think they should not go back and retest old results? You go. Take this away, Fight Geek.
This is a tough one. I would say yes, at first glance that you should test back all the way to the first samples you have on file. But then again, that would be opening yourself up to liability with all those individual fights. So there's a reason to do it and not to do it. But yes, I mean, anybody who wants a clean sport, anybody who wants a level playing field is going to say yes. So yes, I think you should be able to test that specimen back until the first specimen within the promotion.
Really? I'm actually shocked to hear you say that. You know what?
Well, to be honest,
yeah.
One of the main questions I always have is kind of, when did this start? You know what I mean? So we'll get into it a little bit. TJ, for instance. Part of the reason I was such a TJ fan is because of his Barao performances.
Mm-hmm.
Who we thought Renan Barao was, who Renan Barao was, and what TJ did to Renan Barao that first time made you stand up and go, wow, that was transcended. Even to this day, that's one of the performances I think of where I just could not believe how amazing a UFC fighter could put it all together.
Yep.
So with us knowing now what we know, it's impossible for me to look at that performance in the same light. I consider that one of the top 5 performances in UFC history, in my opinion. And now that performance can't even be on my list.
Right. And let's not forget, Cody Garbrandt even wrote between the first and second fight with TJ.
Whatever. I don't care about what Cody
he said
Garbrandt
check for EPO with. What do you mean you don't care? He said check for EPO.
Cody also said that TJ taught the whole team how to do it. So does that mean the whole team did it?
Probably.
So does that mean the only time that Cody won a title was when he was on EPO too?
I think it's safe to say Cody's not exactly the smartest tool in the shed, the sharpest, the brightest light on the Christmas tree. He's a dumbass. There's no way he could outsmart anything.
But my point is, if he said that TJ taught all of his team how to use drugs, does that mean him and his team was using drugs that whole time?
I think Cody's just a dumbass. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways,
I think that's a very interesting piece of wording. Like you said, Cody sometimes struggles with his words, so I don't know if that's what he meant to say. But
you don't always talk so good.
Right. But I think being able to test back in a case like TJ's, maybe because it means more to me than most, would be important.
Okay, so this is weird. I, for once, am taking the more pro PED stance than you. This is so weird.
What's going on?
I actually disagree. I think that once a fight's in the books, it's in the books, because it's kind of like an NFL game or an NBA game or anything like that. Do you go back and change the scores of those games when a ref made a mistake? No.
No, well, just finding out that TJ was on EPO during the Barao fight potentially wouldn't change it to a no contest per se.
It
would
could
still stay in the books. No, well, do you not understand? Public perception within this community is the most important thing.
Of course.
You will never forgive John Jones if he goes 100-0.
Of course. That's because, he was caught 3 times and did a bunch of other stuff.
So my point being is the punishment isn't in taking away the wins or the losses. The punishment is in the public humiliation. The punishment is TJ will never be considered the greatest bantamweight of all time, ever again. Any time it comes up, someone will say that he was caught.
Yeah.
And he was caught cheating.
Yeah, and rightfully so, by the way. But I'm sorry, I have to call out that
the fact that he was using EPO does not mean he's not the greatest bantamweight of all time. But it eliminates him from being considered. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I think it eliminates him. What I was going to say is I can't stand the hypocrisy of everyone lighting up TJ for getting caught once, and it was disgraceful, and he should be punished. Jones has been caught 3 times. He shouldn't be allowed to compete.
That's all because
picogram lies. Well, yeah, tell me about the picograms. Okay.
Listen. The reason people are coming down hard on Conor or on TJ is because Conor called him a snake, and he developed this kind of counter personality when he left Team Alpha Male, where it was a popular thing to hate TJ, and he kind of didn't care. He just played into it. So there's some organic reasons why people are not giving TJ the benefit of the doubt here. I, for instance, will judge TJ the same exact way I judge John Jones, the same exact way I judge Anderson Silva, the same exact way I judge Vitor Belfort and Chael Sonnen, and the list can literally go on forever.
Meaning a giant asterisk that has ruined their chance at the GOAT title.
Sure.
Okay, fair. Yeah, guys, we've got so many questions. I really appreciate it.
It's so off topic. All right, I got one real quick.
Yep.
Quinn at Orthodox 1993, another show regular. He says, Izzy versus the Reaper. Who do you got? Quick.
Yeah, I got Whitaker, but everyone seems very. I was actually surprised. I put a poll out, and it was something like 80% were saying Whitaker. I think it's going to be really close, but I think Whitaker gets it done via unanimous decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Whitaker is going to present a lot of problems for Izzy after seeing what Kelvin did, but man, it's been a long time since Whitaker's got to the ring healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to show up. I have a feeling I know which Adesanya is going to show up, the one that's in his prime, ready to win and unify a title. If the Robert Whitaker, who's already won his belt and has had some health issues and is a little more well off in his life and content, shows up, I think Izzy could win. But I'm still going to take Whitaker based on what I saw last weekend.
Very fair. Very fair. I like that. And then, okay, I'm trying to see what we've...
I got another one.
Go.
Nail K at Judah Peru 1984, one of the show's favorite antagonists. Now the stage is set for Dustin versus Khabib, possibly in Abu Dhabi. How well do you think Dustin will be received by the locals after what happened to Khabib in Vegas?
Okay.
Now, I don't understand. I'm not sure if I understand the context, but if you do, please go ahead.
I do. So he's asking, the fact that, some shit went down with Khabib in Vegas, and he didn't get the belt wrapped around his waist. He had to be escorted out because people were so, the public was perhaps going to attack him after the outburst, et cetera, et cetera. But now, I think Not Nael is insinuating, well, is Dustin going to be treated with hostility now that they're in Khabib's backyard, almost in East versus West?
I don't think so. I think that if Dustin and Khabib were to fight, I think it would be a lot more of Poirier Holloway than Conor Khabib. I think
in Abu Dhabi, bro.
Well, I think respect-wise. I think that as far as respecting each other, I don't think Dustin Poirier is going to disrespect anybody's religion or anybody's family. He's going to come in and be he's going to come in and he's going to speak highly of Khabib as the undefeated champion, and he's going to be respectful. And in return, I believe Khabib will be respectful to Poirier, who's proven himself. And I think we'll have a fairly mild lead up. And I think I don't quite understand what the concern is for Dustin Poirier. He had nothing to do with any of the prior drama and has been nothing but respectful to everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good take. I think that he's still gonna get heavily booed if they're in Abu Dhabi.
Of course, he'll be heavily booed, no doubt. It's going to be a road game for Dustin Poirier, no doubt. But I think the way he will handle himself and conduct himself will not give them any extra fuel, I guess is my point.
Yeah. Okay, really quick, and I don't usually do this, but it was a great question. Second question from Uncle Yagi at nzuki_101. The Izzy Jones fiasco, who's at fault? Go.
Israel shouldn't have opened his mouth.
Wow! You are such a Jones fanboy.
No, I'm not a Jones fanboy.
One of them is a middleweight, and one of them is a heavyweight who cuts down to light heavy because he's a coward.
You have narrative just coming out of your mouth left and right. You just paint it how you want to see it. First of all, don't come at the king and then say he was a bully. Period.
The king of Turnable? What are we talking about?
The king of the UFC, man.
Yeah.
We all know who the king of the jungle is in the UFC, whether you like it or not. It's John Jones. Period. End of discussion.
TJ gets 2 years for one drug offense. Jones is rewarded for 3. It's disgusting. And I will keep talking about it. I don't care.
He'd knock your boy DC out again at heavyweight in a round.
Well, listen, guys. Hey, jokes aside, as you all know, I want to reiterate, if DC Jones 3 happens at heavyweight by the end of the year and DC loses, I'ma film my face. You can all see my face. No more cartoon. I'ma shave my fucking head, okay? I'm on record again.
Nobody cares about you shaving your head, Phil.
All right. Well, I'm just telling you that DC's going to whoop Jones's ass at heavyweight.
Well, you keep holding on to that dream.
All right.
Someday
it'll come true. Yeah, you're right. So I'll hold on to it.
In the meantime, your idol will just reward another drug cheater with the title shots. You guys can all be hypocrites.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Any more questions?
Oh yeah, I got one. Sorry.
By the way, you guys are always trying to get me fired up and trying to get me to say anti-Jones stuff, so I hope you like the episode.
Oh, it's real hard to get this guy fired up.
I've been pretty good lately. Now, I mean, I'm unleashing now, but only after a while.
You've had 20 minutes of PED talk on this episode.
Oh, whatever. That's the news.
All right, Larry at Larmule61.
Love Larry. Larry, what up?
He says, hey guys, question for the next podcast. Max is clearly not strong for 155, and he is struggling to make it at 145. How do you see his future playing out? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, I've actually discussed this with a lot of people on Twitter, some really intelligent takes here, and basically, I think he needs to go back to 45 for now. Fight Frankie Edgar, perhaps a few more title defenses, but I understand. Frankie Edgar is up next. That's what I'm hearing.
What?
Yeah.
Who's Frankie Edgar fought lately?
I'm hearing it's Frankie Edgar. But
okay.
And I mean, look, maybe not, but that's what I'm hearing. We'll see or not. But I think that Max will have to move up to 55, but hopefully he learned a lot from this fight. He's going to have to make some serious changes when he goes to 55. He's got to put on more muscle mass. He looked like a skinny, starving little boy against a man in there. And that's not a diss to Max. Max is one of my favorite fighters. But he's got to put on muscle mass if he's going to move up.
Yeah, I don't think he should move up. I think he should go back down. I think there's easily 2 or 3 more fights for him.
He'll have to eventually, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if off the top of my head, he'd probably be like number 7 or number 8 in the 155-pound division right now.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I still think he would beat a lot of guys with the performance he had against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is tough as nails, and he's smart. He's intelligent. He doesn't take dumb chances. He doesn't give you wild openings except in certain exchanges. He's a very smart fighter at this point. So people act like Dustin Poirier is not that good. He's clearly one of the top 3 lightweights in the world.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
I mean, I don't understand why he gets so disrespected all the time. So with that said, Max went 5 rounds with him and won a few rounds. He's easily a top 5 to 8 lightweight in the world today, which is the greatest division the UFC has ever had with roster depth and talent. So, I mean, I don't know. I think he should go back down because I think there's a couple fresh matchups. If we see Edgar, what is Magomed Sharipov?
Zabit?
Yeah. And then maybe Volkanovski. Those are 3 names that would make great title fights.
Yeah, totally agree.
So there are names, but even if he does have to go up, I know I'm babbling, he's still good enough to be a top 10 155er. So
absolutely. Any more questions or?
I think that does it for me, man.
All right. Well, take us away.
All right, guys. Well, as usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Soundcloud, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. That's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Peace.